Hi, my name is Melissa Mahoney. I am one of the innovative education facilitators with the Durham District School Board. Today, I'm going to take a look at finding your way around and help find a way around a Google Sheet. So we're going to look at the Explore tool in particular for analyzing data. First, you want to get started with opening a sheet. If you are used to Microsoft products, a sheet is similar to an Excel spreadsheet, and this is Google's version of a spreadsheet. Very easy to use and very user-friendly once you jump on in. When you open the Google Sheet, what you're going to see is you can actually start a blank sheet here, but there's also a number of templates that you can use in order to get started, including monthly budgets, travel planners, team rosters, etc. So if you go through the template gallery, you may find something that's very useful and something that you can actually extract and put directly into your sheet. If we go back to the template gallery, you can always just choose a blank sheet. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to just show you some blank sheets and show you around, and we'll go back and actually add in a template, and I'm going to fill that in and show you how you can use the Explore tool here to help you analyze some data. So whether it's data from your classroom, so it could be some grades, it could be some data that you've collected from a Google Forms survey, and you'd like to analyze that, but you also can then leverage that to the students. So you can have students actually collect data, enter it into the sheet or into a form, and then analyze that data. So first and foremost, you're going to see that in a Google Sheet, again, very similar to what you would see if you were using a Google Doc or any of Google Slides, the untitled spreadsheets at the top. So we're going to title this again. And we're just going to say bite-sized TV. There we go. And what we have here is very similar to what, if you're familiar with spreadsheets, you're going to have rows and columns. The rows are indicated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're numerical, and the columns, as you see, are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The great thing about this Google Sheets is that the actual space that you can work is quite extensive. So you can even increase or decrease the ruler bar here if you want to, the menu bar, in order to give yourself a little bit more space to work with. So that's obviously very helpful as well. You're going to find similar functions at the top here that are things like filtering, bold, italics, underline, your different fonts and your sizes, etc. Anytime that you need to do something here, you can always just search for that as well. Okay, so what I've done is I've added a list of animals, and potentially you might want to poll the class on something. You want to show them how to visually represent data into a potential graph of some sort or some image. So what you would do is, if you have them manually type in, for example, an animal that they like, and potentially how many people have that as their favorite animal. You could easily do this by just clicking into the cells and actually typing lion, and then have that as 3 students, like the lion the best. Just this little data set here alone doesn't really have any impact. But what I wanted to show you today is just how you can immediately change this data set into something that students can look at and manipulate if they wanted to, and see how data looks visually in a graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go down to this Explore tool button here. And this is similar to the Explore tool button in the Google Docs. If you click on that, what it does is it automatically accesses the data that's in your sheet, and it will take a look at it. So what you can do is say, you can ask a question about your data. For example, animal with the most in column B, okay? So the top animal we can see right here, animal with the most in column B, is the dog. So that's correct. If we just quickly glance over here, we can see the dog has 8 votes for the top animal, and we can rate that answer as yes, that is correct. And if we go back, we can ask, we can see an animal with the most histogram of column B. So again, you can see here that we can simply insert this chart, and now we have a visual representation in a histogram form of this. If we want to go back here, we can now go further into, let me delete that. We can go further and we can actually use the Explorer tool to see do some data analysis. So this is a very simple data set, with the animal and the number of students, but you can dive deeper into this. So the next level, in order to take it to the next level, what you're going to do is you can have students utilize potentially the sheets for budgets. You can utilize them for grade analysis. You can utilize some of the templates, and I'll go into that and show you how that can be done very fast as well at the end. So in science class, this is excellent for data sets, and it gives you quick representation of what those data sets may mean. I'm going to put this one in here. So I'm going to insert this chart, and you can see right away I have this data analysis of the number of people. Now, what I can do is once I have that graph, and this is again very simple and it's excellent, I can move that up and put it beside my data set if I'd like, but I can now manipulate this. So one of the things that that Google allows you to do is you can go in here and you can actually change your formatting on your actual data set right here. So you see I've done that, make it look a little bit nicer. But in addition to that, you can also change the data, the way that it looks on the graph here. So we can go into actually formatting this particular graph, and we can go here. And once we click on it, you're going to see that it's highlighted. And once it's highlighted, you're going to be able to do various things with it. You can then click on these three dots here, and it will give you that option to edit, delete, download the chart if you wanted to download this and use it somewhere else as a PNG or in a PDF. So that's an excellent option. That's one that I really, really like about Google Sheets, is that ability to download as a PNG. So you can insert it in any sort of final document that you want to. You can move to its own sheet. So down here, this is sheet 1. We can move it to its own sheet down here where we could click back and forth, and we can actually see that sheet. Click again, and we can then, if we want to edit this chart, we go to the top. Now what that does is it comes up with a chart editor menu, which is great. And there's two different tabs you can click on here: setup and customize. So right now, by default, Google has sort of predicted that potentially we might want this data in a bar chart. That is a good predictor. Maybe that was required, but if something else may be required, maybe we would prefer it to be in a pie chart. So again, you can actually quickly change the visual representation of your data by simply just changing the chart type. And maybe this one is a little bit easier for your grade level to read. Therefore, you can see very quickly the dog is the most favorable animal in the class. Now, again, we could go back. We could have them in a bar chart, and again in a column chart. This here is where your data range is, and your data range is quite small here. So it's important that you do select the correct data range, and it is selected and is correct in this one. So if we go here, you see you can add another or select another. So right away, it's important that we start to use best practices when we're visually representing data. We're going to label our x-axis, label our y-axis, and all those requirements that we get students to do. So we can see right here, this one picks up because I had that in a title right here, animal. I had that as a column title. I now can see that that's there, and it knows exactly what. When you are in the chart editor, you're going to see that the setup is the default, and this is going to pick up some of the assumed formatting for your particular data set. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move over to the Customize tab over here, where then I can actually start to put in my own chart titles, etc., and styles, and add a little bit more flair to this. So if I go to chart style, again, this is going to be a preference. If you want the background to be white, you can actually make it a lighter gray if you wanted to do that. You can make it a darker color. So there's a lot of options there. In addition, you can modify the font type. So if I go here, I can change the way that this looks very quickly. There are some other checkboxes here. For example, 3D. If you wanted that 3D look, you could actually choose that as well. And whenever you're done with chart style, you just simply collapse that, and then you will open up chart and axis titles. So this particular set of data has no chart title as it stands right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose chart title, and I'm going to type in favorite animals in the class, okay? And again, I have the option to center that, bold. I can now change the color if I would like. Students can have a lot of fun with this to customize their data sets to make them look nice. We can do that. Now what we can also do is just collapse that, and we can go down to the horizontal axis. And the horizontal axis here, we've got the settings for that. And we will need something on the vertical axis. So right now we don't have our number of students there. So again, we're going to have to go back up, and this includes chart titles and axis titles. So if we go down to the chart title, which we've done, we can now go to the vertical axis title, which would be number of students. And you can see how that starts to populate on the side there. If I had that there before, it would have populated. So again, what we can do here is we can change the font type, make it bold if we'd like, and the text color, we can change that. So there's a lot you can do with this to make it look a little bit more attractive. The grid lines. Again, you can see here that there are grid lines there. You can have vertical access, etc. Major grid lines, these are the auto. You can have none, so it looks a little bit more clean if you like that look, and then you could collapse that. Okay, so one of the neat things you can do under the customize is also to go back, and you can always change your background color and things like that, but also to change the way that your data is displayed here. So if I hover over these data sets, you can see that the number of students appears there as 7. And maybe I want to actually see the numbers along the bottom. I want to see the numbers along the side, etc. So what I might do is I might want to click on data labels here, and that's under the series. So what I'm going to do is actually click data labels, and you can see that these labels actually come up and populate onto the columns that we have here. So we can do that, and we can change the position of them as well, depending on how you like them. So there's a lot of customization that can be done for this as well. And again, total data. It depends on what you're analyzing. If I collapse this series here, I can also go to legend. So another way to display your data is through the legend, and students oftentimes will do that. So right now it's at, if I say none, if I say bottom, left, etc. This is really for different types of data sets, but there is some use to that for sure when you have your pie charts, etc. So that's kind of a neat way to also customize your chart. The horizontal axis, again, we can go here and we can actually change the label the way that they read if they want them a little bit slanted, label font size. Same with the vertical axis, we can do the exact same thing if we wanted to scale it down, etc. So in this, under the customize, there's a lot you can do here. And again, grid lines. So right now, we could say one grid line, major grid lines, okay? And the grid line color is just auto to that. So when we go in here, there's also the option to actually change the color of these as well. So if I click on this, you're going to see the series and number of students. We're able to change this if we wanted to. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. So like I said, you've got some really nice graphs that you can make with some simple data sets. But the great thing here is that the Explorer toolbar will leverage that and help launch that starting point for students to really see how something as simple as the number of students and their favorite animal in the class can create something visually. Now, if we take that one step further and I go into making things like going to file and you wanted to do, let's say, a budget with your students, you could also go as far as to go to new and go to from template. So those templates are going to take you back. This is going to take you back to that area where I first opened. And there are a number of education templates here, like assignment trackers, grade books, attendance. You can see even with attendance would be a great way, especially if you had a telephone or a cell phone and you're going on a field trip and you wanted to keep track of attendance for that day. Maybe this is something you could start to put into your attendance grid on your cell phone, things like that. So it's a great way, and you can also share that attendance with someone very easily with that share button. So we go back and I'm going to go to new and down to template again. And you're going to see here that we can also do things like budgets. And a lot of times we do budgets as part of our, in many different classes. It could be as part of a careers class, it could be as part of a business class, and sometimes we do budgets in things like woodworking or any of the shop classes where you have to plan out a project. So there's a lot of application for budget-based sheets. And you can see here, you can choose from any of these that will help you understand. And a lot of this is entrepreneurial driven. And so these are things that entrepreneurs can use very fast. And in those business courses or any of those courses where students will be leveraging entrepreneurial skills and hopefully global competencies towards becoming self-sufficient in a way with the skills that they have, being able to actually go in here and create that monthly budget or something like that from a template is a great starting point. So again, I just wanted to show you this monthly budget. You can get started here, and it simply becomes a great visual representation of what you can do in sheets when you utilize the bold, italics, the fills, all those things that you can do by highlighting and making something look visually appealing, but also being able to calculate your transactions, etc. So what this one does is actually you can date, amount, description, and category of a transaction, and it will autofill into one of these templates. So moving forward, what I wanted to do is just show you how you can use these types of templates to help leverage potentially something that is you're already doing in your class and take it to the next level. If you would like to use any of these templates and find out more, I'll be doing another bite-sized PD on formulas if you wanted to start making them from scratch. But a lot of these are great ways to just start out and see how they interact and how some data sets can become visual representations in a sheet. Until next time, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this bite-sized PD.